at this golf course down the street, about a mile away, and they didn't have a driving range. They just lined us up, and we hit out onto the golf course. And the PGA, the local PGA pros came, and they gave us tips and walked down the line. And this was a 3-week lesson. And they walk by and say, you have a bad grip. And then somebody else would walk by and say, you have a bad grip. And finally, I think after the second session, I finally stopped the pro and said, well, I know I have a bad grip. How do I fix it? So he showed me how to hold the club, and then from that time on, I never had a blister on my thumb. And I didn't have a glove, but if I'd had a glove, I wouldn't know why I had one, because I couldn't afford one. But I think probably, as you might know, Debbie, the most important thing in the golf is that you hold it correctly. We play golf with our hands and our eyes and our feet. And your hands hold it, your eyes tell you where you're going, and your feet direct you there and give you power. So those are the 3 communications that I think are important when you are teaching, that you observe how they're holding it. And if seeing it, they have to see how to line up and have to use clubs and things like that. So if you can combine those 3 points, you can begin to be consistent in doing something. Years ago on the tour, we looked down the fairway, oh, that's Trevino, that's so-and-so, this is so-and-so, because they had a style, they had their own style. Today, it's very high-tech, mechanical, and every golfer looks alike. It's kind of boring to watch, and the commentary on TV, they just talk about the putter, and it's not really interesting, whereas the olden times and the great Bob Hope Classics, we had a fun time out here. And I taught at Indian Wells, and I could follow and walk with them down the fairway and learn and observe what they were doing, and that was important, I think.
Shirley, I'm curious if it ever hits you just how important you are to golf, the fact that you were one of the founders of something that grew into such an industry and a sport.
Yes.
How important you are.
Many people would say, why did you want to be a professional golfer? Well, I think that some of the ladies that we competed with as amateurs, their families could afford to send them to Florida in the winter and play invitationals. Marilyn and I didn't have that type of money, and we felt if we could continue to compete, we would have to join the LPGA, because that way at least we could write off our expenses if we didn't make it. But we were a small group of 11. There were 13 that signed the charter, but only 11 played. And of 11 of us, how are we going to grow, and how are we going to get more players? Well, as we traveled on our first year of tour of 11 tournaments, we asked the local women, 10 and under handicaps, to play with us, so that we'd have enough volume to have somebody come out to watch us. So we felt that in our heart that we wanted to go ahead and keep playing, but we didn't have the money to play amateur golf. And we didn't have the money to play pro golf either, but working for a company, the company paid our expenses to give all these clinics for them. And then they made clubs with our name on them, and we got 7 cents a club royalty. So, we were doing great. Marilyn even got a car. Spalding gave her a car, so I could hitch a ride with Marilyn, and we just traveled down the road like a circus from tournament to tournament.
But do you think the younger players today on the tour have any idea that without you, there
Well,
wouldn't have been no tour? Without
yes.
that group of women, they
You
would
see,
have nothing?
recently, a film company called 11 Films in Atlanta, Charlene Fisk was the director. They make documentaries. So they put together a documentary called The Founders, and it's been shown at 5 or 6 film festivals. One was in St. Andrews, Scotland, and it won first prize. I went to the showing at La Costa Film Festival, where we won over 7 other sports films, including one which was about champions in all sports, including Jack Nicklaus and then in tennis and everybody. And John Daly had a documentary, and that was comical, and others, and we won that. And the more exposure they can get to, they'll find a director to put it on the big screen. It shows and tells across some of what I'm telling you here today. It shows us from the beginning to where we are today. So the first part of the film is in black and white, because that's all we had is black and white. And then the end of the film comes up to the modern day in the color, and interviews with the current champions. So it's 1 hour and 58 minutes, and people can contact 11 Films in Atlanta and have it shown at your facility. They've just the Michigan Women's Conference this spring is going to show the Founders film, and at the Founders tournament, possibly they'll show it. And that's interesting in that the Founders tournament is in its 6th year, and it has had 2 or 3 different sponsors. But the first year, our players